The last time you were here, you ambushed me. And I think a lot of people appreciated it. And if ever you start a podcast, that'll probably be how you broke your podcasting virginity.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
You agree?
No, I don't know. I'm still listening because I don't know what you're talking about. You started with ambush.
The last time we were here, I had questions for you, and then you decided to spin it around on me and ask me about Penuelism.
No, but like I said, Pen, because I genuinely believe you have done quite a lot of thinking on the topic, we were discussing. And I just felt like, wow, this is the moment I can learn from all the work you've done. So I haven't done too much work on religion and stuff. So
But that was the first time that you hosted a podcast.
yeah, is it? How was it? Was I good? I listened to you.
Look, you're a dope guest.
I had an awesome guest, absolutely. I think all I kept saying was, yeah.
You're winning a lot of people over. I don't know about citizens, but just you as a person.
Yeah.
A lot of the comments, a lot of people that I'm meeting in the streets are like, hey,
yeah,
I love it when you sit with Jan. I think they love your mind.
It was good that I didn't say much of that episode. So,
it wasn't.
So they love me for my silence.
He's also a good listener.
No, they don't. It's not that episode. It's before that episode.
They love me for my listening.
Today you can't ambush me, Baba.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything you'd like to start off on regarding the last episode we did.
Yeah, so let's see how we shape it up. And Majita here, they can also add their bits. And I saw you also did something else that talks about culture. You and I had a bit of banter on WhatsApp around, I shared with you the screenshot about how Elvis is known to have won the star and the Kai and the cross and the Star of David, and he said, and I basically covering all the Abrahamic religions because he said, I don't want to miss out on heaven on a technicality.
Hey.
So let me just make sure that I've got all of them covered. So perhaps what we need to do, because I think we were also just talking about culture and then mix it up with religion. What I'm hoping to do is not so much the argument about what you said. I mean, at the end of it, I said, I believe in God. And I said, I'll come back. And I think you will also find that there might actually be a lot of similarities than differences. The topic of God is always tricky because I probably will upset a whole lot of people, including those that also believe in God. Because the other challenge with believing in God is people also quickly want to confirm which God do you believe in. It's not enough to say I believe in God. They might say, okay, so far so good, and until you say which God.
Which God?
They're like, whoa, you're no longer the guy. But what I'm hoping we achieve, Pen, is some way of marrying what you were saying, and maybe we don't have to force it if there is no way of bringing this together. I don't know if you're familiar with the whole concept of thesis, antithesis, synthesis. So the concept of thesis, antithesis, synthesis, the way it works is this, if we use, let's take affirmative action as an example. A thesis will be, affirmative action is very important because of the historic inequality in the country. So until we actually intervene, mainly through legislation, it will not happen on its own. We may not want to do it forever, but maybe at some point society has transformed so much that we don't need this type of policies in the future. We know from history that people have never ever transformed voluntarily, so therefore that's why we need the laws.
Okay.
That might be a thesis, is an argument for a particular position.
Okay.
An antithesis will be, no, actually, I don't support any form. It's an example of antithesis. I disagree with any legislative intervention because actually, if we just base things on merit, we will not need all of these policies. In any case, these policies are race-based, so they seek to entrench the very same things that we are arguing against. And in fact, appointing an incompetent person actually works against transformation. So therefore, what seems to be aimed at benefiting a change that we are talking about may actually defeat the whole purpose. Right? That's an antithesis.
Sure.
A synthesis will say, how can we still do transformation while mitigating for those things that you have raised without also alienating white people in the country?
Almost a compromise or a merger.
It's a much more complex. It's a complex construct because actually at best you can only just ask it as a question to say, okay, we want to keep all races believing they belong into South Africa and all of that. So how do we cater for all of these things? And then I think so, and obviously something like synthesis is not a preferred space for con artists because it's complex, man. Like you are not going to be able to speak with confidence. I mean, some of my friends have said to me, whenever I come and chat to you, they're like, no, but Jan, with you, everything has got relative and nuances and I realized that. But like, you know, like I'm 47, right? Like, so there was a time where I was very confident about a lot of things, right? Like, and I spoke them like they are the truth. But with age, what age does to you, it's sort of, interestingly, it makes you speak less confidently because you've had almost sufficient time to be able to be careful of very strong thesis or very strong antithesis because you actually end up realizing that there is nuances everywhere. So therefore, when I come across a person who speaks confidently about any one thing, I'm like, okay, but that's fine. There's nothing wrong. It might be that in your time, at your age, you have to be like that. You know, it's like, you know, we all wanted to go out when we were in our 18, 19, whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, like my cousin used to say to me, why do you have a car parked on a weekend? Like, I don't understand this. Like, if I had a car, I have so many other places I could be and all of that. Now he's older, and I could ask him the reverse question. I can say, oh, bruh, like...
Why is your car parked?
Why is your car parked? You know, so I'm hoping we try and get to the synthesis. I'm not trying to present the antithesis. I want us to try and I think in that process, you will see that there is a lot of similarities, you know. So maybe let's tackle the religion, faith, and all of that concept. Let me answer why I believe in God, and then maybe talk to what type of God. Then we can maybe talk to culture. We can just choose which one we start with. But perhaps culture is a lighter way of getting to the religion part. I don't know. I'm comfortable with either. Then we can talk about other things that are happening in SA and
Why would you say culture is the lighter way to get to religion?
I think culture is the lighter way because if we agree that culture is essentially just customs and practices established over time, I like culture more than religion because I don't think so. In the dichotomy between customs and doctrines, I see culture as more based on customs and not so much doctrines. It's not, this is the way, and this is, it's not rigid. So I like that because a lot, I mean, people will quote you, you know, the usual quote of, is not the strongest of species that survive or the most intelligent, but the one most adaptable to change in the environment, right? So culture has always evolved. This is why I struggle with the obsession with culture. like, I can understand why it gives people a sense of comfort that my life means something and all of that. But culture has always changed.
But do you know why? Why black people specifically obsess over it?
So there are certain things that they look black, but actually this is part of the problem with South Africa. This is why transformation is important. I've given this example. I don't know if I've given this example. So I used to work in banking, and we had, I think I told this example. We had a branch in one of the small towns where the design of the branch of a bank at that point had the main branch space, and then he had a separate space for private banking. And then by the nature of the typical farming community, the bulk of the retail consumers are black people.
Yeah.
The private banking people are white farmers in the area.
Correct.
So these people are sitting in the branch and they keep on seeing Bus John
Going to a special place.
going to a special place. And they're like,
Yeah.
I
This bank is
cannot
racist.
believe the racism in the middle of the day during the people, you know? And in fact, that has led to a decision where banks today separate the private banking is usually in some office block or whatever.
On its own.
So
that I jump east in front
because
of the
they
people.
didn't, yeah. So sometimes what we form views on as why is this a black people, we must then say, is it true elsewhere in the world where there are no black people, right? So, and then you will find that pretty much in any poor country, there is this near obsession with culture, right? So then immediately you are able to take it out of the why is this a black people thing?
Sure.
Then it becomes what is it about the low income segment of people that these things, like culture and customs mean something to them? And then you need to get to people like, Friedrich Nietzsche, who speaks about slave morality versus master morality, right? So to the extent to which you feel powerless, belonging to a group makes much more sense. It comes from evolutionary, practice that your survival, when you think you are weak, your best form of defense is being part of a group.
Correct.
So when someone who has made their money says, I believe in myself, whatever, they are not saying anything that's revolutionary. When you have the resources to be able to back yourself, then you believe less in a group. As soon as you lose all of that power or perceived power, you will sound as communist as everyone else, right? So that's why you find that, for example, if you match the level of a national, how religious a nation is, the poorer the country, the more religious it is. Because when you are poor, you need to rely on a lot more hope for inspiration than when you've got your own money and you can buy a yacht and all of that.
Sure.
It doesn't make the person who says, I believe in myself, more intelligent, more competent, whatever. It's just a function of the options they have. When you have options, you can become a lot more individualistic. I'm seeing the same thing in my village, where my village used to be very communal. Like if there's a wedding or a funeral, people, ladies will work throughout the night, peeling and all of that. But over time, kids of the different families achieved a level of success and education and whatever. What did they do? They take out their parents out of this arrangement and they put them on some catering or a B3 or whatever.
Yes.
So suddenly, this woman says, no, I don't have to participate in this whole thing of peeling the whole night. The day something happens to me, I'm paying these people by debit order and they'll come and they do the catering and all of that.
Sure.
So there is, what am I saying? I'm saying what we think about it as a black problem is because in South Africa, the majority of people who are poor and with a lower level of education happen to be black by virtue of the history of this. You will find this to be the same. I mean, I've used India as an example, like highly cultural. Those are not black people. Highly cultural, highly religious. So if you are able to do that, you can stop calling it a black problem. You can then say, what is this? It's a low income dynamic.
Sure.
Because in a life run by money, those who do not have the money end up becoming sort of the low level of that. And then you need to, so things like belonging presents your best form of defense. You know?
I was more asking around why our culture is not evolving. And if you ascribe it at all to the fact that we were disrupted by colonial forces. Because what was meant to happen in evolution, black, Indian, whatever, is when colonial forces come here, assuming they don't oppress us in some ways, I think black people were meant to evolve into Christianity and then go further. But I think part of the reason they still hold back so much is because we were defeated here, and this is the last thing we were holding on to a point where they hold on to things that should be evolving.
No, evolution is always in motion. This is sometimes part of and I'm glad we have had shows like Shaga and all of that, because what those things show is when a person says, I will die on the notion that I am Zulu, right? And you are able to point to them that actually that's a new identity you acquired recently.
Yes, it's 200 years old.
You are actually not Zulu at all. You are Ndwandwe or whatever. Zulus were a small tribe or clan that over time took over, whether willingly, I guess some people will say we joined forces and all of that. Sure. So, but you are able to defend that culture, right? As if this was a culture you were allocated, it was always in place. It was not in place. It's the same thing I have an issue with Afrikaans culture, because it's a creation of the Cape Colony, Afrikaners, both the culture and the language. Right?
Afrikaner is 190 years old.
It's 190 years now by virtue of life and all of that is yesterday. It's 5 minutes ago, right? So culture is always evolving. And, if you go back to how we ended up being called Zulu, Ndebele, the formal structure of it actually comes after the formation of the Union of South Africa. It's actually not even an apartheid thing. Apartheid used it for other means.
Sure. But it was the British.
It was the British. It was allocated. This exercise was done by University of Cape Town. The British, remember what the British were trying to solve for. Britain always sent administrators to the colonies. And sending a team of administrators was always so expensive. So they were always looking to pull them out as soon as possible. And the easiest way they figured out to pull them out was to appoint the local administrators. This is why chiefs and all of that have got a lot, kings and whatever, have a lot to explain, because they became the local administrators of the British monarchy, right?
They still are. But
they still are, right? So that's what Britain was always trying to solve for. And when they were looking to solve for that, they were trying to understand Abantu. They were too complex to understand, right? And they said, we can't manage these people without understanding what makes them, how to differentiate between the groups. And if we just see them as one big group and we entrench that identity, that is going to be a problem. Yeah. Because these people will always be the majority in that sense. So the exercise that was given to University of Cape Town at the time was to say, how else can we subdivide these groups? Right?
So they're easier to manage.
They're easier to manage. That's why I'm saying when someone says, I will die or kill you because I'm Pedi, and what the hell? Pedi as a cultural group is a creation of the British, right? They went and said, okay, we think the easiest way of grouping these people is by dialect. right? So what we call Bapedi today or Spedi is an amalgamation of a number of cultures whose languages felt similar. And this is why I'm saying, for example, Balobedu are considered Pedi. And they are such a separate group. And in fact, Kilobedu, which is the language they speak, it has like some similarities to Spedi, but it actually, you can tell the difference.
It's its own language.
It's its own language. But these things were all grouped together. So to say I want to die on the basis of this grouping defined by, that's just like, for me, it's like, it's madness, The same thing with the people who are proudly saying, township culture. Because we now talk about township culture.
That's correct.
Not only that I'm vendor, but like, so.
And if you're not from Soweto.
If you're not from Soweto.
Like you're an inferior kasi somewhere.
You're like, okay, do you understand how Soweto happened? Soweto and many townships happened because once these labor reserves were done and were far away from the cities, money will come in all of this conversation. The employers were frustrated about the time it takes to order new people to come from the reserves. They're like, okay, we understand. So the small white community wanted to minimize the number of black people so that obviously the numbers are manageable because black people would have been the majority. Yeah. So the protection of the white minorities up to low income required that you artificially manage the number of black people in the cities. But the reserves, which is the homelands, were too far. Now, the problem with manufacturing companies and all of that, sometimes you realize we've got an order and we need people today or tomorrow or next week. Yeah. Now, this person still has to take the letter to whatever. By the way, you needed the chief to release you to say you're being sent to whatever. The companies then said, no, that's not going to work. Can you create a small capacity of the spare labor closer to the cities? And that's why the townships were formed, right? And over time, obviously, families settled there. These people were not even meant to own the houses. This is why we are still talking about the title deeds and all of that.
Bram Fisher is one of the examples, which
absolutely.
I think that whole area is owned by a mine, and there's a chance that all the property there still belongs to that mine.
Yeah. But today we proudly talk about township culture. Sure. Like, you don't understand township culture.
Auction culture. There's even a clothing brand.
There's even whatever, right? That's evolution. That's changes. But what I'm saying is, for you to die or kill someone on the basis of that just sounds ludicrous to me, right? I can understand why you want your identity and your background to mean something in a very overwhelming, complex world.
Yes.
But that's okay. Use it for your own sanity. I think it's useful for your sanity. There's nothing wrong with that. I also want to believe that I mean something. My life means something. But it's not something on the basis on which I will kill someone or fight someone over or whatever,
But you're speaking from a place of privilege.
I was about to say that because the point that Pen is making is valid, that, I grew up in a space where grandfather was being oppressed. Itaiman was being oppressed. I'm still in this situation.
Yeah.
There are a few things that I can hold on to, man. We're getting married. In fact, this is the culture. This is the only way you can do this thing. There's a death in the family, the township culture. It's like, can I hold on to something that I know hasn't been disrupted? Don't you think it's...
Before you answer, Trevor Manuel, I'm sure there's other examples.
Yeah.
These people whose identity was linked to the ANC, until they made enough money and they networked at a global level to a point where they don't need it anymore. So they might say, the ANC is just a political party. And you're like, no, chief, you can't say that. You were built by the ANC. They're like, yeah, I was. But I mean, why would I fight with the IFP and what? These are just, but is that not coming from a place of privilege where other people, this is all they have?
It is, but that's why I was saying to you that this is what Nietzsche captured as a slave. I don't like the terms, but he captured the essence of it. That when you feel vulnerable as an individual, your best method of surviving is to belong to something.
That's like a Broederpont is a good example.
Yes. You have to belong to something. And the fact that that something gives you sanity, there is nothing wrong with that. All right? So, but as soon as people achieve the level of success that allows them to make moves on their own, or some people have got, I'm not pointing at anyone, Orania friends and stuff and whatever. You move differently, you know?
Dr. Anton Rupert would achieve financial success and outgrow the Broederpont.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But what happens is if you lose, so actually culture is a safe place to fall back into, right? So if wherever you've gone, then Baba, you must come back and
culture, family, church.
It's interesting if you look at what's happening in places like UK and London and all of that. Things like protest and being in the streets used to be for the hopeless and the whatever. But life is changing in UK so much that even those that consider themselves to have escaped that, they are suffering the consequences of that.
It's like the doctors marching.
So now they are back.
Doctors are marching here for jobs.
Right? Yeah. So when you are vulnerable, when for extent to which you continue to feel vulnerable, you need to belong to something that makes a lot of sense, right? But I'm saying don't take it, I'm not dismissing that. I'm just saying don't take it like it is some doctrine of some deep,
In everything you explained, how do you say that culture is lighter than religion? It sounds like religion would be lighter because it's not evolving and complex.
No, I say it's lighter because if people have accepted that things will change, the problem I have with religion is because it seems to be framed at a point. If you read the Bible, you can actually time around which time it was written.
Sure.
Clearly, people were settled. We know it was not written in the nomads' days.
Yeah.
Right? Farming was a big part, but the emergence of big towns and all of that, and armies and whatever. So you actually can time it. Right? Yeah. This is why, and because the Bible reflects what was happening at a point in time, people struggle with trying to reconcile, let's say, 90 AD with 2025 AD, right? So, for example, slavery in the Bible is just like is spoken about as a normal thing.
Yes.
Don't even envy your neighbor's slave and all of that, whatever.
Obey your master.
But that's because this thing was a norm at the time. People were trying to we're trying to grapple with the concept of super being and God, but within their times. They interpreted it using their times. So what was considered normal then, today we look at it and say, how, man, are you saying God approved, slavery, which is an unfair question.
There's an English term that I'm struggling with. So there's etymology, which is the root of a word.
Yeah.
There's a term, I'm just struggling to find it here, where it's extracting the principle of something and removing the context. Because there's a pastor in Nigeria, Emmanuel Olumide, I think is his name, who speaks about when you read the Bible, extract the principle. Things like women must submit to her man. And you're like, but how do you explain woman empowerment when the Bible says? And it's like, no, go to the principle of what was the context? Why were women doing that? Why were they housewives? Men were at war. Extract the principle. It's not to say women can't work, women can't provide. Focus on, there's a term for it. I just can't get it, sorry.
I don't know what the term is, but a guy called Edward Dibon also wrote a book on lateral thinking. And he was talking about the kernel. So basically what you're saying is the concept at the center of it. And then you can say, what would it mean today in 2025? And so you can time it to that. So, and I say culture, Because if we accept that things evolve, like, do you know that in many, I'll call them black cultures, but they might not just be black, there was a time where it was culture to kill other people to be buried with a king,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Umkapi.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the afterworld, yes.
It was culture.
Yes.
I think Ushaga also killed people to be buried with his mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was culture, right?
The Mayans they were sacrificing
Yeah.
people. So, yeah.
Yeah. But but today we don't do that, and we don't have a problem with it, because, you know, like, the idea was the king is not supposed to go anywhere on his
their own.
own, even to afterlife.
Sorry, I don't know if this is the word. Hermeneutics, I'm not sure, is the theory and methodology of interpretation, especially the interpretation of text and communication. It focuses on how meaning is constructed, understood, and conveyed, considering the historical, cultural, and personal contexts of both the communicator and the interpreter.
Yeah.
Hermeneutics. I'm not sure if this is the term I'm looking for, but this is the closest I found.
Yeah, so we must enjoy culture. I don't want to dismiss culture. We must enjoy it for the purpose it serves. It's a calming and numbing thing that we all need to cope with the complexity. We feel like we belong to something, and that's a good thing. And this is why I'm saying let's start with it before we talk about religion. Because you will find I will say the same things about what role God or faith plays in my life, you know.
Let me ask this question, based on everything you've said now.
Yeah.
Could we argue that religion is just a snapshot of a culture at a time and then becomes codified?
Yeah.
But it's not that religion is a thing in itself.
Yeah.
Culture is maybe the thing that is always there, it doesn't change. But just like a phone, someone at some point takes a screenshot,
Yes.
codifies it, and then it becomes a religion. But it was just a culture of the time. So Nati, if we were to take, let's say, Zulu culture prior to the British, and we wrote a book, and it was called Shaga's Word.
Yes.
We'd be like, but everyone is, if you're Shaga's Word,
Absolutely.
and then we're like, that is a religion. It's just
Absolutely.
a snapshot
Absolutely.
of a culture at a time codified.
Yes.
But we're meant to pass through it because culture is evolving, and this religion is just meant to be a marker.
Yeah, it
of
meant to
history
be a
and not-
marker. I think then because it became a doctrine, like, you know, this is their word, right? Then people wanted to carry it through time,
Sure.
but also it contained a lot of principles that are still useful over time. So now it is this thing. I mean, imagine if someone came and said, nah, I want to update the Bible with the knowledge we have in 2025. I mean, that will just be a disaster.
I wanted to do that at some
You
point.
know, like, it will be crazy because
Before Penuelism, I
people
wanted to
will
do
not
that.
even allow you to do that, right?
The
They will,
Gospel of Pen 2025.
yeah, they will just say, like, what gives you the right to even think, like, so it's, you know, like, yeah, so that's what, so the religion frames stuff at a point in time, and we need to be able to say what are the principles and be able to extract that, you know. So culture will always change. I mean, there are certain things that I look at today. I mean, even in science, things change. I don't know if you've heard about something called lobotomy. I mean, like, lobotomy was this idea that if you've got migraines and all of that, they will drill a hole in your head. And then that was science.
Sure.
At a point. The other thing that I think today is science, but one day there'll be a generation that looks at us and think, were you guys crazy? Is this cesarean section, you know, delivery of a baby?
Sure.
Like, it's a very intrusive procedure, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's hectic. Like, it cuts through so many layers of your body. It will be crazy one day for a generation to think we used to do it voluntarily.
The whole concept of surgery, Nje, is an unnatural intervention.
Yeah, it was always an emergency life-saving intervention. Today, surgery, well, remember, surgery is trauma on the body.
Correct.
Right? So it was never something you volunteer. It was like, okay, we don't have any other options.
Sure.
And if we need to save life, we are going to do this thing. But today,
Voluntary.
doctors have made it it's convenient.
It's called an elective.
Yeah, you
C-section.
can go to the meeting at what time do you want to have a baby?
Sure.
You can have it at 12 o'clock today. Deal the things you need to deal in the morning and whatever. I'm telling you, at some point in the future, there'll be a generation that looks back at this thing and say, what the hell?
You guys were cavemen.
Like, were you guys nuts and all of that, right? Like, so those things will keep on changing over time. So, Tebza, I'm not dismissing culture.
Oh, no. I'm
I want to ask you.
Because I can get what we never, hey.
Aye.
I want to ask a question here
Never.
to you, your personal opinion.
Yeah,
So we speak about principles and we speak about context.
yeah.
Do you think principles can change? Or do you think principles, particularly whatever we call nature,
Yes.
do you think they will forever be constant?
No, they can change, but you see, so this is another thing, the artificial debate between nature and nature, right? I've had people saying, no, but that's just man-made. A lot of things are man-made, like countries are man-made. You are also man-made. Like there's a lot of things that are man-made. To just say something is man-made, there are a lot of things that are man-made that are better than nature. So, for example, in nature, you've seen it with animals. These animals harm the other animal. This one does whatever. This one kills the other. The shark attacks this and whatever. That's nature,
Correct.
right? Nature is human beings saying, if we are going to be able to live together and create a culture of belonging and all of that, there are certain natural tendencies that we are going to have to stop. So, for example, how do you ensure that my partner is my partner, and if you are the other guy, you stay away? That's not a natural.
It's not.
It's not a natural law.
In the animal kingdom,
It's the animal
the
can-
lion will kill the other lion, take the lioness, and even kill his children.
and kill the children.
Yeah.
Right? That's
nature.
That's nature. If you wanted to say, I wanted to defend nature, like
Abu
that,
Shaka and some of these guys would also do the same. They take over a king,
Yes.
a clan or a place,
yes,
potentially kill the men, especially
Yes.
the strongest.
Yes.
Maybe kill some of the boys that look promising, and then keep the
Yes.
weakest
Yes.
and the women.
So then human beings then said, okay, we are going to destroy each other, and at the end, all of us lose. Because if you've killed so many men, or so many men have killed each other, at some point we are even vulnerable as a clan or as a tribe. Can we establish club rules? What are the rules we all promise to observe? There'll be cheaters. There'll be those people who don't follow the club rules. But these are the rules. If someone deviates from these rules, can we agree collectively that this person should be punished?
Especially the elite. They normally don't follow the rules.
They don't
the
follow
club
the
rules.
rules.
Are for the peasants.
This is why you hear of certain tribes in the past where if someone deviated from the rules, everyone in the tribe participated in the killing of that person. The woman, the whatever, everyone. Stoning, right?
Whipping, watching a person being hung
Yes.
or getting a guillotine.
Yes, because the idea was the collective hanging together and working together.
Even a jury, to some degree.
Yes, it is more beneficial for all of us than following the natural instincts. So sometimes hear people say, no, that's just man-made. Yeah. There's a reason certain things are man-made. Like Noah Harari, you mentioned him, he says, like groups are able to work together somewhere up until like 150 or whatever. Like after that, you need rules.
Sure.
Because people don't know each other as much and all of that and whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things, that we need that are man-made.
You think principles change? Sorry, Debs.
I think principles are a reflection of what groups find valuable at a point in time. Right?
So you don't think principles are cast in stone? You think principles, let's say for example, are man-made?
Yeah. Principles are man-made. So this is why. If you watch this thing, I think I mentioned it before. Society of the Snow. Society of the Snow is actually
Of the
Society of the Snow.
No.
snow.
Snow. Yeah.
Snow, the white.
Snow and the white.
Okay.
So there is this group of, I think they were Paraguay rugby players. They are on a plane with their families and their partners, and they crash in the mountains. And when they crash in the mountains, they far away from any form of civilization and all of that.
Netflix.
You can
2023, 2 hours, 24 minutes.
Yeah, you can find it.
Uruguayan flight crashes in the remote heart of the Andes.
Okay. Yeah, in the Andes.
Forcing survivors to become each other's best hope.
Yeah, so what then happens is the people that ultimately are rescued from this thing, they survived by eating the bodies of the other friends.
You did tell the story.
Yeah. So for me, like, that's interesting because that's not in line with principle. It's a survival. We are primarily driven by survival. And so that's why when someone says, do you eat human flesh? You must say, I have never had to eat human flesh. You can't say I don't eat. I don't know, like if you say, do I eat donkey meat? I've never had to eat donkey meat, but to the extent to which it is not poisonous, if I found myself in a situation where the only thing between me and survival is donkey meat, bruh, I'm on that thing.
Chapa every day.
Isn't the principle there survival? And the not eating of human flesh is not a principle. That's then the context of...
Yeah, but survival is not so much a principle, but a necessity. It's like what we are all pursuing, you know?
Let me read this definition. Sorry, Jan. Debs, I know you want to ask something.
No, don't worry about it.
No, I'm not worried about it. You can ask. The principle, this is on the internet.
Yeah.
There's two definitions of a principle. Number one, a fundamental truth or proposition that serves as the foundation for a system of belief or behavior, or for a chain of reasoning. Number two is a general scientific theorem or law that has numerous special applications across a wide field. But it was this a fundamental truth, which is why I was asking, when you say principle, because normally we'll say that hermeneutics, the principle in the Bible of master and slave, in the context of time, this was going on. The principle of a woman must submit to a man. There was war at the time. There was patriarchy.
Yeah.
But the principle is survival. The principle is let's do what's best. Let's work on merit. What's merit is that Uyan is stronger and bigger than his woman. What's merit is at the time for us to achieve the ends, you need slaves. But the principle is something that can't be shifted. And you're saying principles are man-made and they can change. Yeah,
principles can change. I mean, we have one of the challenges we have now. I mean, with this new story of surnames and all of that people are losing their minds over. It's interesting. I mean, some of the defense by people was, no, but I paid lobola. But like now, more and more women are paying their own lobola because they have more successful careers than their boyfriends. And so the woman will say, okay, I just want us to deal this cultural thing. You and I are just building our lives together. But you know what? Because my parents are old school and whatever they want, I'll give you the money.
Let's just sort it out and get it out of the way.
Let's just sort it out and get it out of the way.
There's a lot of women that are paying for cultural events at home, but no one speaks about it. That the cows were bought by the woman, the catering was paid for. The assumption is just kokibine.
You know, yes.
It was the men. And it's like, no. Just because you saw them slaughtering and the women are paying for those things.
Man. And people don't speak about that. Eh?
Yeah.
Hey, a lot of women are paying for all these things. Eh?
They are. So like, and also like, the reason why a boy child was preferred was actually because tribes like regularly went to war, you know, like, and by physical strength and all of that, like you needed more men meant more power and all of that.
Sure.
So that's why
that's meritocracy.
That is meritocracy. Yeah. But today, you know, like men are buffing their nails and like painting their nails. So
those are shots. Those are shots.
That's my friend. Don't do that.
It's not me. We are.
But you
said men are buffing and painting their nails.
You mentioned his name.
Does your friend not paint his nails?
I ain't gonna snitch. I know now.
I wanted to say to a point where we discriminate against women who are physically stronger.
Yes.
Just because they are women.
Yeah.
Whereas the principle was we need the strongest.
Yes.
And we're saying, but this lady is strong.
Yes.
And it's like, she's a woman. If you reference here, it says women are not allowed.
Yeah. And
But we missed the principle.
yes, and physical strength is not as valuable as it used to be. Like today,
all.
wars are fought, over drones and everything, or whatever, right? The woman brings the bacon home. Like, if we are saying, whoever is the provider is in charge, now we've got difficult questions, right? So I think principles will, in many ways, also continue to reflect the dynamics, at a point in time. It's interesting, like even principles, like they supersede each other, right? Like, if you believe that your neighbor is planning to kill you, you might say, okay, preemptively, I'm going to kill them before they kill me.
Yeah.
Right? So you almost justify that to say, okay, but I don't really believe in killing other people, but in this case, I felt like I needed to do. So principles are quite flexible.
Thou shalt not kill until you have to defend yourself.
Until you have to defend
Then you have to
yourself,
kill.
And then people are like, okay, but we want capital punishment back. So somehow we still have this obsession with sometimes settling the final settlement of this thing with this person is to unalive them.
No, violence and death is the first and last. Giving birth and killing someone is the beginning and the end of everything.
Yes.
People can say what they want. We can debate
say
money and principles and human rights and the UN.
Absolutely.
But that one, here's a child, we birthed, they are alive.
Yeah.
Here's a person, we've ended their life.
Yeah.
You can debate later whether it was right. Agaseko.
Yeah. And interestingly, in fact, so last time I was here, I was carrying a book on homicide. It is just like the book just talks about different reasons over time across cultures why people would kill. One of the interesting ones was why would parents kill their own child, right? And that has happened a lot in culture, right? And it happened a lot in dry periods, famine and all of that. Because in the middle of hunger and famine and all of that, you are trying to keep those who are around already alive. The last thing you can afford as a family is to have a baby that actually not only it cannot contribute, but it actually takes away the time of someone else who can contribute.
They deadwood, they slow you guys down, you can't migrate.
Yeah.
Animals do it. They leave behind the weakest.
Yeah, so the family will then make a decision to give everyone else a fair chance of survival. This baby must go.
You reckon that's also one of the arguments for polygamy? Or monogamy at least, where someone decided, look, a lot of these guys are dying without children. And the reason is because Uyan is the strongest, most good-looking, richest man in the village.
Yeah.
And all the women want to have his seed.
Yeah.
Manje otebs and abo penzo ngoba they short and skinny. They've got no money. The women are like, there's no way I'm opening my legs for these guys.
You're catching strays.
So then
me and Penson is
I
bad.
put myself in. I said mina no tebs. Me as well. So someone was like, hey, you know what? let's do this monogamy thing. Polygamy is out. You must go and be with two tebs and no penzo, even though about weak.
Yeah, remember so that's why that's why monogamy is also part of the club rules, right? It's not nature. Right?
You don't think it's nature?
No.
You don't think monogamy is natural?
No.
For men or for men and women?
Sure, it's a complex answer. So for both men and women, but not to the same extent. That's what studies say.
That's historical.
Yeah.
It might change moving forward.
It might change moving forward.
So you've got, I'll use these examples because they're known. Kelly Kumalo, Dineo Ranaka, Erika Padu. Can't think of other famous women who have children with different men, and they tend to be powerful men because these women are powerful themselves.
Yeah, we also have cultures where like the whole, procreation or sex between women and whatever is a tribe activity, because the idea in those tribes is that the fittest seed will survive. So if we are going to give ourselves as a tribe a chance, right, we don't know which seed will outcompete
Have you heard of this, Deb?
the other.
I don't know if it's in Asia or somewhere. Some of these, I think it's poor villages where the men are all allowed to sleep with, like, let's say, one woman. Yeah, and then to what Uyan is saying, sonke slala with the same lady, and whichever seed is strong, say kulisa sonke,
Yeah.
for the benefit of our.
Because you guys have seen that this lady has a strong.
Maybe it's because of a shortage of women. I don't know.
No, it's not the shortage of women. It's the tribes have always looked for the strongest seed to win. And we don't know. We cannot quite tell which seed will.
No, the question is why? Why is that woman having multiple men sleep with her?
Yes.
What's special about the woman?
No, this is not just for this one woman. It's done with all the women in the tribe.
All the guys sleep with all the women.
Yes.
Maybe it's a scarcity thing.
It's not a.
Okay, I didn't. Hectic.
Yeah.
You don't think monogamy is natural?
No, studies suggest it's not. So studies suggest that
Aren't those studies propaganda so that mina no tebs ngoba sibabi? At
It-
least
it-
it's totally amamedi.
No, it's probably-
Otherwise we lose.
it's probably propaganda. So the man, which is sort of the male part of human species, is incentivized for procreation, and procreation is maximize procreation. So our species depends on procreation. So the male is incentivized to contribute towards that. This is also why, like, the enjoyment at the end of the activity, it is an incentive for you to want to repeat this activity again. If it was not enjoyable, you might be a grudge, you know.
Yeah, look, if our dicks got sore every time we had sex, we'd definitely stop.
It will be a grudge thing, right? So males by nature have also always been interested in other procreation opportunities. It is humans who then said this thing, because men are also at the same time very territorial, but the territorial thing is also has got a good justification by it. So by nature standards, human men are super dads, in the sense that pretty much anywhere in nature, there is no expectation of a man to stick around too long after planting the seed. Right? So a lion can do that and then move on and all of that. Human male are expected to stick around long, all right? So it is a big compromise on the freedom to procreate.
Let me actually look this up. I want to see if there's any other animals. This is an interesting theory. No, please carry on, sir.
So
You're arguing that, let's just say as a hypothetical, I'm being extreme.
yes,
Human men, fathers, are the most present dads
in the
in the
human
entire
nature.
animal kingdom.
I don't know if it's in the entire, but
I'm just
they'll
saying as an
they'll rank
extreme.
at the top, yes.
So even if Umchi does like a deadbeat nyana, he
Yes.
comes once every 6 months, it's still more on average than almost all other animals.
Yes, but also remember
Yes, yes.
remember in the participation in the procreation activity, right? Once you have planted the seed, you are free to go and look for opportunities to do that elsewhere. Nothing ties you down, right? Whereas for a woman, something like pregnancy and breastfeeding and all of that means you are out of action for a period. So so males have always been looking, but then society then can set the rules that says, okay, this type of natural behavior is not helpful for the type of society we would like to build.
And I guess we're also not fragile in terms of being extinct.
Yeah.
Which I want to read this just for interest for anyone who's interested.
Yeah.
Animals that are known for being highly present and involved fathers include the emperor penguins, who incubate their eggs and provide care for months.
Yeah.
The seahorses, this one for anyone who knows, where the males carry and give birth to the young. I don't know if you've ever seen the seahorses. They like spit them out of their body. And gorillas, who actively protect and provide for their families. Other dedicated fathers include lions, red foxes, and ostrich dads who defend, feed, and protect their offspring in various ways. So those are the main animals that actually, where the fathers are present. I think they have wolves here as well. Male wolves are known for their devotion to their pups, sharing the responsibility of raising them and providing vigilance to keep their loved ones safe.
Yeah.
Okay, this is not really what I was searching, but I just thought that was interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so this is why in the sort of relationship between women and men, women have always been considered the selecting partner, right? They're the ones who need to choose that, this is the type of guy that I would like to procreate with, because I think they give me the safety, the protection.
I want to ask a controversial question.
It's called hypergamy.
Hypergamy,
yeah. Social status is a big part.
I want to ask a controversial question. And this, look, I don't want to use myself as an example.
Why?
I wonder.
Use yourself as an example.
No, I won't do that. I wonder if women, by nature, they lean towards men who won't be present. To a point where that's why we have so many single mothers, because naturally in them, the idea of a present father is frustrating, to a point where even during pregnancy, the reason they fight with present fathers, the reason they cause him stress is because they're like, get away from me. I don't really want you here, and I can't explain why. And look, guys also might explain why they deadbeats. Maybe a nature thing is, what am I going to do when I'm there, what. But I'm wondering just naturally if, the reason we have so many single mothers is because naturally they're like, I don't know why this guy is here.
Why is it that even for the man, naturally, he doesn't want this pregnant woman? Equally.
No. So
isn't there a thing there as well?
So I mean, we're gonna have to bring women to answer, right? But all I can do is to rely on studies, right? For men, the pregnancy represents responsibilities and being tied down, right? Which limits your freedom to, roam the world and all.
And sow your royal oaks.
Yes.
Zamunda, Prince Hakim.
So that's understandable. What I have not come across is any good reason, because if there's a good reason why women were always looking for a provider, is because when you're looking after babies, it's your least productive time and your most vulnerable time. So actually having a person who can provide and protect for you
is an advantage.
It's an advantage.
Yeah.
That's why I say, like, even in the olden days, like, if you had a big shiny stomach, you were a good candidate for a father, because it suggested you'll be around. You will survive the next famine, right? Because you're carrying energy all around you. So, which is also like, by the way, the number one driver for why men will kill another man is suspicion of like infidelity with the woman. So the risk of there is nothing called maternal uncertainty. So in science, there is no question of who's the mom. But there's a very big question of who's the father.
Who's the father, yeah.
Right? So men throughout nature have always been obsessed with the idea of saying, if I'm going to be tied down,
I have to make sure.
Whatever. This is why I just think like things like paternity test has to be a lot more accessible and acceptable than they are today.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think it will save a whole lot of,
especially before a maintenance order.
And before
it should be.
Like it should be.
Standard. I wanted to say, when you speak about a woman looking at Usizwe as a working man, he looks responsible, and you're saying you're vulnerable, you can't go work because you're pregnant. Back in the day, maybe one of the reasons men could still leave is because there was a village mentality. So the other woman can go work. your mother, your aunt, your sister. So you don't necessarily need the father there.
Yeah.
So that protection and provision, maybe the protection the men still do generally.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be the father specifically. And the provision, the other women and the boys around can still do that. So it's like he doesn't really need to be here.
Yeah.
But in a world where we live in now, where it's either him or nothing,
Yes.
he has to be here.
Yeah.
I want to read this. This is, well, I asked Google a better question. Many animal species have absent fathers, as it is the norm in the animal kingdom for males to provide only sperm and then leave their mate to raise the offspring. This strategy is common in species like grizzly bears, humpback whales, and most reptiles and fish, where fathers have little to no role in raising the young. Common absent fathers, grizzly bears. Male grizzly bears are solitary and have no role in caring for cubs, sometimes even killing them. Humpback whales, male humpback whales are only involved in mating and do not participate in childcare. Most reptiles and fish, many mammals, the vast majority of mammal species do not have paternal care, with males focusing on a quantity-based strategy of producing many offspring. This is the last thing I want to say. This is why I didn't want to necessarily use myself as an example, but I'll say this, Jan and Debza and Sizwe. I'm constantly fascinated by women who have expressed an interest to have children with me. Where I look at, but I'm meant to repel because you've heard I've got children with different women. Why would you want to have my kids?
Yeah.
And many people in society would judge them. This chick must be crazy. Maybe she thinks she's going to get money from this guy. But you might find that it's nature to say, this guy seems more masculine and natural than other guys. This guy is always around holding the baby. That's the guy I want, because ngati, like a bull, when you want like prized sperm, that guy looks like the guy. We are chala and unembewe grand. And he's not necessarily there all the time. And somehow as a woman, naturally, I just find myself wanting his children. I wonder if there's a nature aspect to that, or if it's what people would argue and come as dysfunctional. Those women are fucked in their heads.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, as I say, some of these things we're going to have to ask psychologists and women to help us with it. But from what we know about behavioral psychology is, like last time we spoke about why the less decisions we have to process ourselves, the better. Sometimes what can be seen as something that has been done by other women, it can also be validating. So someone can look at you and say, okay, if other people have gone on to do this with him, knowing what we all know, there must be a good reason.
Yeah.
So I'm not actually taking a new risk.
Yeah,
right?
portfolio of evidence.
Almost
I can see he's a good father. His wives look happy.
Yes.
His children look happy.
Yeah.
Why would I gamble on someone else? Angmazi, he might be a deadbeat. This guy's definitely not.
Yes.
He definitely provides. So I feel safe.
But you also have like you've got high social status, right? In the like year 2025 where things are shaped like, so how old are you now?
39.
Right? 39, right? But you can structure conversations with people who control power in the country and sit down with them, right? That's high social status.
It also feels somewhat safe.
Yeah,
My kids won't go hungry.
So the throughout evolution, the obsession of females has actually not been the prospects of a man having sex with another woman. It has been do you look like you'll be able to provide for my safety and my well-being and all of that? This is why where there are cases of infidelity, the question being asked by a woman is different to the question being asked by a man. If your woman catches you that you've got a relationship with someone else, the question they will ask is not, did you have sex? The question they will ask is, do you care about?
Do you love her?
Do you love her?
Do you have feelings for her?
Do you have feelings for her? Do you want to be with her?
Essentially, do you want to commit and
you
bring her
want
as
to
a
commit?
responsibility?
Yeah, that's the question.
That's the question.
But if a woman catches,
If the man
catches a woman in, that's not the question. What is the first question the man wants to ask?
did he sleep with you?
Yes.
And worse, did you use protection?
Yes.
So it's dominion over your woman's body, whereas
Yeah.
your woman wants dominion over your let's call it resources. Yeah.
Yeah. That has always been the case. The questions remain the same. All right? They remain the same.
And this is where now it gets fuzzy for the world we're living in now.
Yes.
Dineo Ranaka, Kelly Kumalo, Erika Badu, they have resources.
Yeah.
They have status.
Yeah.
So now
So
that becomes are they men? Are they powerful men? And that's why
No.
I won't mind planting in this. Like, hey, my kid is gonna be lekker.
Mara, with pen, yeah, if I'm going too far, let me know. With you, provision is not a thing. Am I wrong or right? There's something.
It's debatable.
no, it's
but
a
there's
thing.
some. No, but I think they see something else beyond some monetary thing that you can offer.
Yes.
No, it's beyond money. So the cues. So like men participate in all forms of all sorts of signaling. It's called signaling, right? Because people don't know whether you have the resources, don't have the resources. They have to rely on signals.
Okay.
So I must look at you and feel like you are signaling protection, provision, safety.
Yeah.
That's different to, can you please send me your bank account?
Sure.
Right? Like they've done this studies where if you go on you're taking a picture for a dating site and you take a picture, it's all fine. But then you take another picture holding a guitar. That picture holding a guitar actually will get more likes and more connections, the picture of the same person.
Sure.
And they were trying to understand why that's the case. And then the interpretation of it was the guitar says, I am going somewhere. I am trying something. I am pursuing something. There is prospects here of, I'm going to be creative and all of that and whatever. That's why you find that like a lot of people who are in a band, if you ask them, how did you end up in a band? They'll be like, I used to see these members of a band and the chicks.
DJ,
You
soccer player.
DJ, whatever.
Hey, bafethu, kumele ngiqale ku-DJ mfethu.
You are
Wabona
taking
iyamajika.
a chance, right? You are saying like, I'm willing to take a chance to do something. Same person, same hairstyle, same clothing, one with something that says, I have plans, all right? So I think you very strongly display the characteristics of like, screw the world, because also like mavericks are pathfinders, right? I'm not going to necessarily just find and establish. Interestingly, this is what's interesting, right? Because mavericks were likely to die, all right?
Heroes die young.
Heroes die young because you're going to go into a place where no one has gone, and that might just be the place that swallows you.
Kanye used to celebrate that he was 30 or 35 and not dead yet,
Yes.
or not in jail.
But the seed of a maverick is very appealing because that seed will always seek, it's likely may save the whole tribe, because at the time when people are like, we are camping at this well that is drying up, that's the seed that will likely say, I took a chance, I went the other side, and I found a river stream.
Debs, I can almost majority confirm that women, let me put it the other way. I was going to put it this way. Women who are looking for a man with money, I don't think they're attracted to me. I think it's women that are looking for something else. And I'm aware of it and I'm okay with it. And you obviously want to find someone where you guys align in terms of, I want this from you. And she says, I want this from you. And I do think the major push when a woman sees me and maybe wants to have a child with me is not, hey, he looks like he has money. I don't think that's their primary. They would like contribution. They would like me to provide. They would like, if ever they see themselves seeing flames, that at least he'll be fine. But in terms of your boyfriend with pen, my kids are going to the top schools in the country. They want to live in they know for a fact, without even knowing, they're like, not him. So it's something else. And I think
I don't know.
I
don't know if that's the case. I think this is why I'm saying that, because it's a social cue, social signaling. All right. There is a point where if people look at what you're doing, they just think money is just a natural consequence of what you're doing. It will come. If it's not there, it will come.
Not the woman that I speak to.
Well, they might not be framing it that way.
That's why I went back to Pen, because the reasoning that you gave, Jan, is not the woman that Pen sees, or the woman that say to him.
No, there might be women that I end up being with, but I have my own criteria. So
yes,
but I have my own criteria. I'm saying the woman that I've spoken to.
Yeah.
Not that I'm speaking, hey, let's have a child. No. Just speaking to in terms of, oh my gosh, your kids are so cute. Hey, if you are my baby daddy. I'm just saying those women, when they speak to me, they could be lying.
Yeah.
They could maybe be seeing something else. Like, hey, look at his network. Hey, I think it's Ngapopala. But the things they say to me is, I'm not going to do that. The things they say to me, Jan, is looks. The things they say to me is my mind.
Yeah.
And then to what you said, social status. You look like someone who can get to spaces where people can solve problems.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But not with, you look like you have a lot of money.
No, it's this why. So it's called genetic fitness, like it's perceived genetic fitness, right? So you can give me a gene sample that has got a great chance of winning and surviving, all right? Mm-hmm. So that's Pen. That's so I hear the reservations on culture. I get them. But I want to come to this thing we were discussing of God and Penuelism and try and less than synthesize. All right. So for me, I should say I believe in God. I will come to what type of God I believe in. But we need to try and delineate for our own purpose and be able to have this conversation, different concepts. The first concept is, so there's a couple of concepts. There's something called existential angst, right? Like, which is, you touched on it in the last conversation. We are constantly consumed by the questions, why are we here? Do we mean something? Where are we going? And all of that. That's existential angst is like given for all of us for as long as we don't even know the answers. Like we want to be optimistic, so we make plans for next year and all of that. But a lot of people who are making plans for next year, they will not be here. So we have optimism. We want to continue to believe we'll be alive. Then, because we are trying to form views of the future, which by definition is unknown, we can't use science there.
Yes.
Science is not useful for that. Science can help us maybe explain the past and maybe some parts of why we are here, but it cannot be used to explain the future, right? So we are driven by hope, right? Hope is very necessary for us, right? Because hope gives us the sanity of wanting to believe tomorrow we will still be here and it will be
just to keep going, Jay.
Absolutely. They say, Adrian Gore has said this, that if you did research and asked South Africans about prospects for South Africa, and then also ask them prospects for themselves, people don't give the same answers. Generally, people are pessimistic about the country, but very optimistic about
themselves,
their own prospects.
Brilliant.
Every time.
I'd prefer that than the other way around.
Every time.
I'd prefer that than the other way around.
Because we need the prospects. We need the hope. Now, the question then becomes, if there is so much that is unknown, the other documentary that's worth watching is on YouTube. It's called The Most Unknown. The Most Unknown is basically scientists, different specialists in different areas, who visit each other. Let's say I'm a geologist or whatever. I visit someone else, whatever. And then I try and learn about the science in that specialty area. If there is a takeaway from that documentary, is scientists agree that there's a lot more we still don't know. And when I say there's a lot more we still don't know, I'm not talking about 20%. I'm talking about like more than 95%. And these are specialists in their areas, right?
What's it on YouTube?
It's on YouTube. Just search for
Piracy,
The Most Unknown. No.
1 hour, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
What's the quality there?
Mbona, it's from 2 years ago, 6,600 views.
No.
And then the next one, I see a trailer for it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I think I downloaded it. I don't know if it's piracy version.
Huh? Hey,
It's called The Most Unknown.
hey.
So therefore, ignorance, which just simply means the lack of knowledge, we have to be comfortable with being ignorant, because it is not possible to know everything. As it is today, there's new knowledge. As we are sitting here, there's new knowledge being generated somewhere. Whether that knowledge is about what Mkonas is saying at the commission or whatever. So we are by definition ignorant already. We have lack of knowledge of something.
Yeah.
And then to be optimistic, even with the lack of knowledge, you need hope. You need to believe there is something else, right? That is at play. And I think that's where faith comes in. For me, faith is the idea that I can be comfortable with certain things that I do not know, but be optimistic that they are for my own good.
Yes.
And it's necessary for my sanity. Yes, someone might say, "No, but why are you lying to yourself?" But pretty much all of life is about lying to yourself to wake up the next day. That will not be a new thing, right? So
The Most Unknown might be also available on Netflix. Might be.
Yes.
Yeah.
So faith plays that role for me. I don't know, the serenity prayer. The serenity prayer, Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So for me, I am willingly saying there are certain things that I don't have answers for, and if the placeholder for me is faith, I am comfortable with it. But because of that, I have no basis to criticize how someone uses that, what placeholder they use. Because there is hope, there is faith, and then there is religion. So faith, I'll come back to the type of God I believe in, but I accept that someone else can have a different God, and none of us have got the basis on which to question the other. Like we have no basis, right? So you've got the God, which is part of the faith. Then you've got the religion. The religion is the doctrine. Let's say because if you look at the God concept, a lot of religions don't differ on the God concept. Where they differ is the rituals and the customs and all of that goes with it. Right? And those are the doctrines. That's the religion. So Christianity is a religion, Islam, and all of that. So I don't think of myself as religious.
Okay.
But I take myself as having faith in God. Right? And then within the religions, you will then have churches. I.e., even if the churches are all religious, they are all Christian, as an example, but there will be different churches. All right? And often when I hear people criticizing faith, often what they actually are trying to criticize is a church.
The church.
But they can't tell the distinction between criticizing a church. Everything has bad practitioners. Dentistry has got bad practitioners. But we have never said, let's stop dentistry because there was a rogue, practitioner.
Did you split the church and religion?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's God, one concept, religion, one concept, and a church, another concept.
Because you can have churches, different churches within a religion.
No problem.
So, for example, Lutheran Church, IPCC, all of those may have Christianity as a religion, but they are very different churches.
Can I read this for you?
Yeah.
A belief in God without adhering to organized religion can be described as deism.
Yeah.
A belief in a creator God who does not intervene in the universe after its creation. Or agnostic theism, which combines the belief in a deity with the view that its nature is unknowable. A deist believes in a God as the creator of the universe who does not interfere afterwards. Deism relies on reason and observable nature rather than religious text or authority. So God, the creator, but then didn't get involved, like a deadbeat father. Didn't get involved after. An agnostic theist, this is a blend of the belief that God exists, theism, but acknowledges that God's nature or the extent of divine knowledge is unknowable. Agnosticism. And then the spiritual but not religious, a broad label for those who find spiritual meaning and connection outside of traditional religious structures, focusing on personal beliefs, practices, and experiences. But I think you're an agnostic theist. You believe there's a creator, and then there's something that you can't explain and you don't know.
Yes, I'm probably more...
You're not a deist.
No, I'm not a deist, but search more for pantheism.
Okay.
I think about...
Pantheism is believing in Penuel as the God.
No, not that Penuel.
Yes, I thought we were almost there. Pantheist, believing in Pen.
No, pantheism.
You're such a hater. Pantheism is the belief that the universe is God. And God is the universe rather than a separate entity. This belief derived from Greek words meaning all, and God posits that the divine is not a transcendent being, but the sum of all natural forces and laws within the cosmos. So that would be speaking to everything is God. You're God, I'm God. Expression, nature, the animals, everything one is God.
Absolutely. So
that's what you believe in.
Yes. The phrase that's used is God is all and all is God.
There's a term here called immanescence. God is seen as indwelling, present everywhere, and in everything within the universe rather than being outside of it. Immanescence.
So, and that serves me well for my own sanity. So
please read that again, Pen. What did it say?
Immanescence.
Okay.
God is seen as indwelling, present everywhere, and in everything within the universe rather than being outside of it. But I guess that's a breakdown of pantheism.
So I see God in everything. I see God in me. I see God in you. I see God in the plants. I see God in the animals. I see God
in violence.
I see God everywhere.
In murder.
But I see, Einstein called it the Spinoza God. Like there's a guy who spoke about pantheism, and you touched on it now, where you were saying, I don't believe in God who participate in individual issues, like
Baruch Spinoza. The 17th century Dutch philosopher. Sure.
So he's essentially a guy who planted the seed of the idea of pantheism, that just as much, and most scientists, this is why I always get frustrated when people use science to say, but if you follow science, science says there is no God. There is no such. There has never been a science that says there is no God. Science has never said there is a God and has never said there is no God, right? You can't say because science has not confirmed that there is God, so therefore there is no God. And someone called it scientism. Like people who use science as a religious belief even way more than the actual scientists themselves. I mean, they will say things that scientists have never ever said. you know. And I've said this before, science prides itself with we don't know. That's where science stops. Like this, a lot of the best scientists in history believe in some form of God because they are aware of the limitations of science. Like science has served us well. The same thing with logic. You know, people who like pride themselves with rationality, they usually use this example to show how irrational we are. One of the examples they use is you are a friend with Debza and it is Debza's birthday. You buy him a gift for $500, right? Then later in the year, your birthday comes and Debza buys you a gift for $500. By logic, that's a very irrational behavior because essentially you have sent Debza $500, he has sent you $500. By rationality, net zero. What the hell was this whole thing for? Right? You could have saved time by saying, hey, Debza, I was going to buy you a gift. You are going to buy me a gift later.
Sharp.
Like we regret.
It's walking on a treadmill.
Yeah. But why would we participate? It sounds like a very crazy thing. Like, why would we participate in something that irrational? It's actually not efficient. Right? But that's because that is very important for, bonding. It's a bonding ritual. It's a social bonding ritual.
Yeah.
It's like you scratch my back, I scratch yours, whatever. That's not very rational. You know? So we are not rational beings. I buy rationality and logic, but I think I'm comfortable with its limitations. There are a lot of things that are unknowns, and maybe at this point in time, unknowable unknowns, because maybe they talk to afterlife and all of that. And for me, because they are unknowns, we cannot have answers. I'm comfortable letting anyone choose what gives them sanity about what they want to believe about that. And I don't think anyone is in any position to criticize how anyone else gets their sanity about views about afterlife. It's like people who used to talk about like traditional stuff of Impepo and whatever, and then they will watch a ceremony of the Catholic Church and they're like, hey, not here I saw Impepo there. Hey. Like, what's what's going on here? Come on.
Yeah.
So I think in this space of the unknown, it's free space. I just don't think anyone has got a basis to say, oh no, these people were drinking just water and do they not know that it just came from the tap? By the way, even science has got something like that. I don't know if you've heard of the placebo effect.
But please unpack.
No, placebo effect is, Debza, the placebo effect?
I've heard of it. I don't know. I haven't unpacked it.
Sizwe? You do, right? So placebo effect is this thing of so you want to test a pill, and but so you recruit people to say we want to test this pill for solving or curing this, whatever. And if you want to protect the efficacy and the credibility of the test, you have to randomize it. So you have to have the pills and some things that look like the pill.
Okay.
And then you give it to people who are participating in the trial, but all of them believe they got the pill.
Sure.
But you mark to say, okay, Debza got what is essentially just water or whatever, but he does not know. And then
I think there's placebos that are used even in medicine today.
Yes.
They'll give you a set of pills and one or two of them are placebos. I think just to test, Utek said, how are you feeling on Thursday? Thursday being sharp. And they're like, no, I think you're better. You can stop the pills. If you like Thursday being sharp, They're like, yeah, Shruti, because I know on Thursday I gave you the placebo.
Yeah.
So what's the end result of it?
So the end
It's to
result
measure
of
what?
it, the end result, so then you want to measure if this pill is doing what it is designed for.
Okay.
What then happens is after a number of trials kept on finding that there are people who got what is essentially water.
Yeah.
They thought they got the pill, but they got better,
Yes.
even though they did not get
The pill.
the pill.
The placebo effect is essentially giving you something that's not a cure, but you being cured.
Because you believe it is.
Yeah.
Is it like, maybe it's a stupid question, Dove does a lot of experiments like that. Where they're like, man, if I got throughout the week, oh my gosh, you're going to be confident and da. Then the woman, I think, come back after 2 weeks. They did one even an essay. After 2, is that the same exercise? They come back after 2 weeks, they're like, oh my gosh, my confidence level went high, blah, blah. Then they're like, nah, we just gave you normal creams. It's the same exercise. Oh,
It's the same
I didn't know what
exercise.
it's called. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me read this for you. The placebo effect is when a person experiences a real health improvement after receiving an inactive treatment, such as a sugar pill, because they believe the treatment will work. This psychological and physiological response is triggered by expectations, prior beliefs, and conditioned responses, and it can lead to actual changes in the body, particularly in subjective symptoms like pain, fatigue, or nausea. I think on the flip side, it's like watching horror movies and you feel real anxiety, even though you know this is not a real thing, man.
But there's a belief thing in there.
Yeah, it's faith.
It's a psychological thing.
It's faith. This is why I'm saying, like, science might not call something faith, but it is actually like there is space even in science for faith.
Okay.
Something works because you believe that. Now, we all can go and debate about, like, is what you believe, is it good for me? Am I comfortable with it? That's a very different thing. But just because I'm not religious, it does not mean I don't believe. I don't have an issue with people who are religious, because all of us are using whatever narrative that gives us the sanity.
Yeah.
So therefore for me, whether Jesus Christ was actually real or not, it's a wrong question. It's actually an irrelevant question. It doesn't matter. This is just like, I called it last time I was here, intellectual self-pleasing. Like, it doesn't matter at all.
Intellectual masturbation.
It could be anything, but if to me this thing means something and it gives me the sanity to be able to focus on other things because I believe my God has dealt this other, or is dealing these other things, that's sufficient.
When I realized that, that's when I stopped debating about this thing of religion, God, and all those things. I was like, okay, if you can survive and you're good, you're not killing human beings, like, you're still good, you're a good human being.
Yeah.
You're raising your family, like, sharp.
Sure.
That's when I was like, why are you debating this thing?
No, it's actually...
There's no point in it, because this person has found a way of surviving. It's like me with the giving thing we're speaking about in the kitchen. Once I realized that, this person's not harming me.
Yeah.
They're not killing anyone else. What's the
It becomes
reason
a
to debate?
nonsensical debate. But you see, the only thing I have an issue with is when it starts to become us versus them.
Yeah.
So basically religious intolerance. Because that's part of the problem I have with religion is that I don't have a problem reading the Bible and then reading the Torah and reading the Quran. And in fact, because I have read them, I can see at the center of it, the God principle is the same.
Yes.
So I'm not participating in the us versus them. So, like, in Easter, I went to basically a Zionist church whole night thing. It was so nice. Like, I enjoyed it. It's like, like, if you've ever seen Mazayoni doing their thing, whatever. Sometimes when I'm home, I go to Moria. I'm not ZCC. I've got nothing against people who are ZCC. But I just find it so phenomenal, the experience of being there and just like seeing all these dynamics, people singing, minding their own business and whatever. It's beautiful. But I can do that and even these people who are on the side of the road, like wearing white, whatever, I sometimes just stop and just go there.
You're a religious tourist.
And I just sit there and I'm like, wow,
Religious
this is,
tourist.
this is
I do that. I visit church,
like this is like so interesting.
temples and stuff.
Yeah.
I want to read this quickly. People who believe in God are called theists. People who do not believe in God are called atheists. So that's the thesis and the antithesis.
Yeah.
People who believe in agnostics believe the existence of God is unknown or unknowable. So I don't know if this is some form of synthesis. This is
Yeah.
like, I don't know if God is there. I don't know if God is not there.
Yes.
Hey, whatever, man.
Yeah.
I'm limited in my knowledge.
Yeah.
So you believe in God. Hey, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or you don't believe in God. Hey,
Yeah.
faith. So you become agnostic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not agnostic. Your question earlier was, am I agnostic? And I said to you, I'm not agnostic because I believe in God, but I believe in God that God is all and all is God. Like everything around us is a reminder of God. And then I have my own symbol. Like the cross is the symbol of Christianity and it's a reminder of the sacrifice and all of that. So that's strong and powerful, right? For me, I use the sun as the symbol of the reminder of my faith. Because for me, the sun meets the criteria of a symbol I need to remember the presence of God every time.
You worship the sun.
No, I don't worship the sun. That's why I'm drawing the distinction. I'm saying to you, when people hold the cross, they are not worshiping the cross. The cross is a symbolic representation of their faith.
Let me look up the definition of worship.
All right? Am I making sense, Sizu?
Get you.
Yeah.
The definition of worship: the feeling or expression of reverence and adoration for a deity.
Yes. So I worship
Enough, yeah.
I worship God, but the reason why we always needed symbols, we need something that reminds us of the omnipresence of God.
You worship God through the sun
No,
as a symbol.
the sun is for me a constant reminder of the existence of God. Because if God is omnipresent, right, is always there. Interestingly, the sun, even at night, even when you cannot see it, you don't doubt
Its existence.
its existence.
Yeah.
In fact, what we call night is the shadow created by the sun. It's just because the sun is the other side of earth, and that's why we have night. So even when it is not visible, no one has ever said, okay, it's cloudy today, I wonder if the sun is there.
Or kids don't know. They're like, there's no
Like,
sun
which is
today.
like,
It's gloomy.
just like, I know it's there.
If you do the history, man, a lot of groups, people, nations in history used to worship the sun. Ancient Egypt, ancient Mesopotamia, Mesoamerica, which is the Aztecs,
Yeah.
India,
Yeah.
Japan.
I can see why. I can see why. But I think it is part of the God. It is not everything. Yes, a lot revolves around it. I get that. But it is part of it.
What about the play on words, the Son of God?
Yeah, so there's also that actually what we can stand to be the Son of God actually came from this praise of the Son, S-U-N, which over time was captured. Because I think there's always been an attempt at making stories relatable.
Personifying. The
Personifying.
God of thunder, Thor. So you see him in human.
Absolutely. So I don't have a problem whatsoever with any religion, any church. There are certain things that I might say I'm not comfortable with. But, we said this last time that if you see another person as you, they are you. I'm looking at Sizwe. Sizwe is me. I'm looking at Tebza. Tebza is me. We are just wearing different experience caps. So the person who is at a particular church, they are not dumb, they are not stupid, they are not whatever. They are just me with a different experience.
A stupid experience.
Who am I? I don't even know. Like, why are you stupid?
Who knows?
I don't know.
I want to raise this concept.
All I know, they say when a person, even some of the smartest people, what do you think is the most common request by people on their deathbed?
More time.
Bible.
But there's some regrets about family.
It's usually relationships, family, like I want to talk to this person and tell them I love them and whatever. Or can someone come pray for me? Because it's seen as the last moment to get some peace.
Because you are sad, we are happy. That
That one, there's a hell in there with fire.
Yeah. I was, we were chatting with Penuel about something called Pascal's wager. And he said to me, I'm driven by fear. So Blaise Pascal is the guy who gave us the calculator and all of that, actually, like smart scientist.
Pascal is not your guy. Sorry.
No,
Please
Blaise Pascal.
No, there's something I want to check here.
Yeah.
Please carry on, sir.
So, and obviously, so at some point, Blaise Pascal changes to religion, right? Like, in fact, Nietzsche, we speak about Nietzsche a lot. Nietzsche was pissed off when Blaise Pascal changed to religion because he was like, such a brilliant mind that has now been lost. Like, what did you do to Pascal, right?
Your guy is Wilfredo Pareto. The 80-20 principle. Pareto principle.
Pareto principle.
Sorry.
So Nietzsche was like super upset, But Pascal had this wager when at Debza where he was saying he believes that believing in God is the most rational thing for any intelligent mind. And he argued that the pros and cons, so if you think, so he drew like basically a matrix. He says, let's say I believe in God. All right?
Let's say I don't. Stop there.
Let's say I don't believe in God.
Sure.
So he says, okay, if I don't believe in God, and at the end it turns out that there was no God, I'm okay.
I win.
Because I'm like,
I called it.
Yeah.
Right? But if I don't believe in God and it turns out that there was God,
Then what?
Fuck.
then
I'm fucked. Judgment Day is here.
Then I'm screwed.
I'm
Gosh.
all right. Then he says, okay, and then let's say, okay, then let's say the other option is I believe in God.
Sure.
If I believe in God and it turns out that there was no God, what did I actually lose? What did I lose? Right? Like people will say, you lost your freedom, you could...
I've got a tank of water in case water runs out. Water doesn't run out.
There's nothing that I feel like I'm not able to do because I believe in God. Right? If there are certain things that I chose not to do, is because I just chose not to do them. So the downside of me believing in God and it turns out that God does not exist is very little. But if it turns out that God actually exists,
Judgment Day, wow. To say you believed in me, Donna. Come on, I never doubted. What do you mean? What do you mean, Donna Yami?
I wrote these things down. So I wrote this. So let's say someone comes to you, Pen. Like this is why I want to make a case for religion.
Penson used to be like this. He used to be like, I go to church just in case. And I said, it's because we quarter. I'm like, if there is a God, the way he's explained, he knows your intention. He's going to come and say, I'd rather Upenzo because Upen was like, I don't see anything. Yeah. He was rooted. When I Bukembula.
Yeah.
No, Udlali dies. Sick.
And
suffer.
On judgment is like, but I believe, man.
I believe no.
And church, so I mean, last time we touched on this thing, like human beings reach maturity at 25. All right. Church is also, or some form of structure, let me not call it church, some form of restrained structure is good for the development of children. Some of it can be imposed by parents. I mean, think about it. Like, I have an issue with parents who give like all these extreme freedoms to their kids. There are certain things that I look back and I'm thankful the old lady did not allow me to be out at night at 10 p.m. But if you asked me when I was 16 and 17 and I wanted to see a girl, I was like, what's wrong with this, whatever?
My mom fucking hates me.
You know? But today I'm like, like I'm thankful she did not do that. What has changed? What changes is also your frontal cortex, which is really what you use for responsible decisions and all of that, only fully matures around 25. Sooner for women, obviously more.
And much later for ANC voters. Sorry.
My
apologies. My apologies. I'm sorry. Let's ignore that.
So I've even forgot what I was saying because you took it to a very different. So I was saying kids need structure.
Institutions,
right?
People need some type of restraining institution.
Freedom, unfettered freedom may not be good for you. Yeah. There's things where you need restrictions for your own sanity, right? So I think raising kids in that structure, but then at some point they can reach the maturity to be one of the problems we have with the secular culture we have today. Is there's no anchor, there's no predictable, specific, this is what you do, whatever. You want to talk about culture? Culture was not freedom. Any culture, this is not just a religious thing. Every culture is built on, this is taboo. This is this. This is how to behave as a young person and all of that. And after that, you can go and say, but mom, like, what was this thing and why were we doing it and all of that. Yeah. So I see big value in the role of religion and churches. But what I wanted to read for you, because I wrote this thing down, and suppose someone comes to you and say, I have this thing that I think may be of interest to you. It can teach you a sense of justice. It can teach you the value of self-sacrifice. It can teach you fairness. It is also a way of meditating because prayer is actually a form of meditation.
It is.
It can teach you the value of fasting. It can encourage generosity. It can help you with coping with adversity. It creates space for fellowship. It helps with creating a sense of gratitude.
Go deeper, Papa.
It gives moral guidance. It can also give you a sense of community.
Hallelujah.
I mean, if I came and said, I have this thing that can give you all of these things, like why what is the problem with it?
The side effects you didn't mention.
Oh, the side effects is that then, there's pressure to comply and it limits your freedom because you need to stick to certain doctrines and all of that. It limits your freedom as a person. And so, because if you don't search for advantages of, this is the problem with thesis versus antithesis versus synthesis. Don't search for advantages of religion. Search for advantages and disadvantages of religion.
Correct.
And then find your way into what are you comfortable with. So now that you are aware of disadvantages, so for example, I'm aware that I'm scared of groupthink. But at the same time, I actually have got a low need for fellowship and affirmation by others. Right? Like I don't have a problem with being alone in my thoughts and doing the crowd going that way and I'm going that. I have no issue with it. But other people have got a high need for fellowship.
Most people, by far.
But like, if a person has got a high need for fellowship and you have this thing that creates fellowship and you're dancing together and you're singing together every Sunday, that is awesome.
Can I ask something? And I believed in it, then I stopped. But I just want to hear you guys' opinion. Do you guys think, and please don't think of the extreme groups. Do you guys think that society is less violent because there is religion?
Sorry, it's 5:20, no?
Okay.
Oh, by the way, that's true, right? By the way, one of the things that research shows is religious people are less susceptible to depression, are less susceptible to things like suicide.
That makes sense.
Right? And it makes sense because if you can get to a point where you say this thing is beyond me, we are back to the serenity prayer. But you believe there is a God that is going to deal this thing for you.
100%.
That is a very liberating thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So for me,
Are you getting your answer? He hasn't answered your question.
no, I've answered
He's
the
answering.
question.
What's the answer?
That
No.
believes that you believe that religion does to some extent lessen violence in society.
Yes.
That's the
That's what
answer
he was
here.
saying.
Yes. Or maybe I didn't get it.
Okay, so
am
I
I
just wanted
correct
to
in
ask
what
you, and all of that stuff that you sold there,
Yeah.
you believe in it. You say yes.
No, I'm saying if a person, because of...
I'm saying if someone presented that to you, would you say, yes, I'd like this?
No, I'm not saying that. They have told you where I am.
I know where you are.
Yes.
But based
So
on
for
just
me-
this exercise.
No, I wouldn't because, for example, a sense of belonging and fellowship is not that
But
important.
it doesn't have to
me.
be everything.
Yes, I will say yes.
So why aren't you religious?
No, because I'm saying to you, then when I look at religious and the idea of us versus them,
But you don't have to do that.
no,
So
that's
for example, you separated God, religion, and the church.
yeah, but that's why I say I go.
And that thing that you just sold is not God.
no,
That
it's
thing
not,
you just sold is not God at all.
no, it's not.
That is
God.
religion.
Yeah,
That's the selling point. And I'm saying you don't have to do everything.
Yeah,
But why
yeah.
don't you buy into religion?
no, you have already said I'm a religious tourist. I participate in religion.
So you believe in religion
I
or
see
you-
the value of religion
for yourself.
partly for myself. This is why I am visiting.
I'm gonna answer you, Debza. I think Soyan's speaking from a place of privilege. Myself, many of us as well, where we can afford our lives. We believe we can afford our lives because we put in work, not because we prayed for it. We have some type of education. We've explored a lot of different religions and the history of beliefs. And we're relatively comfortable with what we have. That's why we can visit and not really catch feelings when these guys, what. It's because we're privileged, whereas most people are not, sadly.
Yes.
So they need to hold on to something.
Yes.
With that being said, and Jan will correct me if I'm wrong, part of our comfort is because there is an institution, it's not religious, that we are forced to abide by, which has consequences. And I'd like to think we think it's good enough. And in this country, we'll call it the Constitution and the law.
Yeah.
Which, even if there was no religion, the law says you can't kill. So if someone says, I'm going to kill you, you're like, hey, you don't say, God will punish you. You're like, you're going to get arrested, bro. It's illegal to do what you're doing. It's not right. And I think it gives us some level of comfort. Whereas if we didn't have it and it was either religion protects you or it's the
Yeah.
same with the freedoms we have now in sex and children. In the absence of cultural norms and religion, we wouldn't be able to have sex because women would be like, oh, I only sleep with my husband.
Yeah.
Or I only sleep with people in my church
Yeah.
or in my cultural group. So it'd be like, hey, fuck. Manje, because OCC today, they clearly not cultural and religious. They let us smash regardless. So we're like, I'm comfortable with the law gives me consent. She said yes,
Yeah.
we're good to go. But if it was like, you can only be protected under, you can only have sex under,
Yeah.
we'd all assimilate even if we don't really believe.
No, absolutely. And this is why for me, I see faith because it is a unknown, like unknowable unknown, right? I actually see it as a reflection at a point in time. I cannot rule out an option where I am deeply religious. It's also like it's not something I'm struggling to imagine. Because there might your circumstances, like you spoke about privilege, your circumstances may lead you to a point where your sole comfort is a particular religion or a particular church.
Correct.
You know? So that's why I cannot judge anyone who's highly religious or highly in a particular church and all of that. I don't know what circumstances, what context leads them there.
A broad church like the ANC.
You know,
There are a lot of people, they'll tell you, I was not religious until I encountered this thing where I had to put faith in something.
Yeah.
Nothing on earth was going to save me
Yeah,
or save this child or my mother, whatever.
absolutely.
I needed something outside of this earth to
Yes.
make sense of this thing.
Yes.
Then I became
I
religious.
judge those people. I wanted to say broad church ANC because
Why do you judge them? You can't judge them. On what basis are you
circumstantial,
judging them?
I'll explain. I was just saying broad church ANC, you don't know why this person's in the ANC until you realize that
Very
to
true.
make money, to run a podcast,
Yeah.
to earn an income,
We don't know.
you have to join.
Yeah.
Or church.
Yeah.
To say, I realized I needed the church for my kid to get into the school.
Yes.
When I was struggling, I couldn't get a job. And these guys were like, come pray. Look, we'll see what happens. They know in the background, they organize jobs for you. And you're like, hey, Fit, you can judge me. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe this thing is not real. But
Absolutely.
so you can hate me all you want. I want to read one definition because we're running out of time. And then I want to try answer Debs quickly. Since we're speaking on these topics, nihilism is a philosophical viewpoint that argues that life is without objective meaning, purpose, or intrinsic value. It involves the rejection of all moral and religious beliefs, asserting that values are baseless
Yeah.
and that genuine knowledge may be impossible. While often seen as pessimistic, some interpret nihilism not as an end, but as a necessary step to reevaluate and create new values, or to live life to the fullest despite the apparent void.
Yeah.
I just wanted to raise the definition. We're not going to discuss it.
And I mean, even that, I have no problem with it, right? I have no problem with the person who's got a nihilist view of life, right?
Sure. Okay. Debs, some of these questions we're not going to get through. It's fine.
That's it. So you must go to church.
I don't
Debs,
think religion lowers violence.
You don't think?
I don't think religion lowers violence.
Okay. And you're not speaking about the extreme groups and whatnot.
What extreme
Nations
groups?
fighting Boko Haram. I'm just saying generally in society.
Yeah.
the problem,
That's what I'm saying. Don't
do-
think too extreme. That's what
Are
I'm
you
saying.
saying, do people not kill each other because of religion? Or if I'm religious, I have less propensity to kill people or
Less.
beat people up?
Less.
So I don't believe in that. I believe the only reason people would be less violent or not violent is based on consequences
of
whatever
the
those may
law
be.
and whatnot.
of the law. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So if there are consequences, we can argue moral consequences, but if there are consequences, people will not do the things because they fear the consequences.
So you say-
do religious people be less violent because they fear going to hell
Yeah.
or whatever? I don't think so.
Okay.
So there's a lot of violence in a lot of religions.
Yeah,
right?
and religion is used for propaganda for soldiers, man.
Yeah.
So, nah.
History is full of like religious persecutions. Like this is also how we end up with the Huguenots here in South Africa, who were running away from persecution in France and all of that. This is part of the challenge I have with religion. This us versus them, right?
Yeah.
So if we are good, we are the good ones, they are bad. Like that's probably one of the things I struggle with. A lot of principles in many of the religions I don't struggle with. I just struggle with the us versus them because I genuinely believe we are all one and the same thing.
Now, my biggest thing with it is the idea that I believe almost every human being is born with a moral compass.
You
Like,
believe so?
Let me say,
Sorry,
me,
my
'cause
apologies,
it becomes
my
very
apologies.
tough. No, you're right in asking the question. I don't need a Bible to tell me that killing is bad. That's one of the things that makes me not truly believe in it. Whether it's and I grew up in a Christian family.
Yeah.
I know what there's a feeling that you get, even if in fact to almost 5 clip, in fact, 500 they walk away.
Yeah.
I just feel bad. I'm like, in fact, no, let me just go to that person. In fact, here's your money. So I don't need the Bible to control my morality.
I think your morality is based on do unto others as you would like them to do unto you. I think the reason you think killing is bad is because you wouldn't want to be killed. I think that's
Yeah.
that's your moral
Do you
compass.
believe in killing in self-defense?
Yes,
Because the other person should do the same.
you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, your principle of not killing is conditional.
Like with anything.
So what you don't have a problem with the actual act. It depends on the why.
Yeah.
But it's like you and religion. You don't have a problem with us and them, by the way, based on what you're saying.
Yeah.
Your issue is that when you look at it religiously, there isn't a real reason.
Yeah.
It's not these guys are killing our women.
Oh,
Therefore, it's
okay.
them. So I hate them because they kill our women. It's Islam, it's Judaism, it's Christianity. You guys come from Abraham.
Yeah.
The reason you guys don't like each other is because Ntandu Muhammad, Ntandu Jesus, Ntandu Moses.
Yeah.
You're like, that us and them doesn't make sense. Versus us and them, they bombing us, they poison our food.
Yeah.
Then it's like, these guys are a problem.
Yeah.
So also the us and them for you in religion it doesn't make sense, because if there was a valid reason,
Yeah.
you'd probably be like, no,
I probably will be like so. That's why I'm saying I also cannot rule out one day being very religious. So therefore, I don't have to sum it up and maybe shut it down. Is that I just think the whole topic of faith, it is firmly in the unknown space. And I don't think any one of us has got the basis, not even the moral ground, to question how people achieve their sanity. Yes, you might say this type of approach to achieve sanity is not for me, but that's okay. But to say it should also not be the basis of sanity for the other person is just like downright like crazy. So I used to say we are all, when I look at all of us in life, I used to say we are all, our score is 0. But like my friends say, that's a negative thing. Now I say we are all at 100. So I feel like we all have got a score of 100 at any point in time. Whenever we feel like someone else is doing better on something, let's say we think their score is 1,000, which is plus 900. On the 100, we all start with. The only reason we can say that is we don't see the minus 900 that comes with the 900. So if, for example, I say I'm posting that I've got an opportunity to go to US for like 6 months or whatever, right? Someone might say that's a plus 900 on your score.
Correct.
You are on 1,000. But if my time in US leads to a dysfunction in my family and a breakup, that's not posted on social media.
Correct.
You don't see my minus 900.
Couldn't bury loved ones.
You can
miss
bury
the
loved
birth of your child.
You don't see that. I know you say that about burying loved ones because that's essentially the Mandela story,
That is
right?
the Mandela story.
Like if you read the book by George Bezos, like you cannot believe the last few days. If Gracia did not come into Nelson Mandela's life, it is sad story how Mandela's life was ending. Bezos talks about going to visit him in Houghton and he will be sitting at some point, like the only person around him was one of the grandsons who ended up sleeping in the same bedroom with him. No visit from family, no visit from friends. Family came when a celebrity or a US thing came, they'll come clean up for the purpose of taking pictures and all of that. And George Bezos will say, I'll sit with him out in the garden. And at some point he will say to him, how is OR doing? Like, how is OR? And then George will say, no, but OR, remember OR passed on a long time ago. And he'll say, oh, okay. They'll talk about something else. And then 20 minutes later, he'll say, remind me again, how's OR doing? And this is the person that for all intents and purposes is the glory and the presentation of angel and all of that, whatever.
They curated a lot of his life to hide a lot
to
of
hide that.
Yeah.
So the person doing better than you is always the person who you don't see the shadow of what you think they're doing better than you on. Always.
There's a cost to anything in life.
There's a cost to everything. There's a reason why everyone you know personally and deeply feels like they're dealing with the same issues you're dealing with. Why is it that the most successful person in your eyes are the people you don't know? There's a good reason for that.
Yes. Don't get too close to your heroes. They're
get
gonna
too-
spoil the.
Don't get
the
too
movie.
close to your heroes.
Yeah.
I always like, I say this, I always look at the homeless people. I cannot believe their health and their fitness and the shape and whatever. I find it very interesting.
Uba lo empire. Ufit man. Ubonga.
Stolen.
I mean,
Bongo
Yeah,
fit.
Bongo, give me a six-pack.
Bongo
good,
fit.
you know?
Yo. But
so we are all at the same place. Like, some things require, like, you need to pop pills for sanity and all of that. You don't see all of that.
Yeah.
You don't see any of that. And this is where I think when people realize that actually I came this far just to be at the same place, this is where people start to try and find more exotic stuff and should I experiment with boys and kids and whatever. And that's a sad, sad, sad space to be in. You know, when all is done, it comes back to, treating others with love and care and empathy, building relationships that matter and fellowship and all of that. Don't go out of your way to step on anyone's toes, and give other opportunities and hope someone gives you an opportunity, and that's it.
This is my parting shot. Mark Manson, he's got a piece online if you go to markmanson.com. He wrote The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Yeah.
Mark Manson emphasizes that instead of asking, what pleasure do you want? The most significant question is, what pain do you want to sustain?
Yeah.
The pain is the struggle and hardship you're willing to endure to achieve your goals and find meaning in life.
Yeah.
Examples of this pain include a 60-hour work weeks for a successful career,
Yeah.
the exhaustion of the intense physical training for fitness,
Yeah.
or the constant focus and discipline required to build a successful business.
Yeah.
The pain you choose is a greater determinant of your life's quality and success than the pursuit of pleasure alone, as positive experiences often arise from overcoming negative ones.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also, there's a concept called amor fati, like embracing your suffering, right? Like the suffering is a given. The only choice you can make is which suffering is worth your time. So, by the way, for Penuelism, you might like, so Mark Manson wrote The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. He also wrote a book called Hope is Fucked.
Hey,
There's a chapter there about how to start a religion.
dope.
That that might be good for Penuelism.
Thank
But
you. I'll check it out.
spread the love, guys. Spread the love.
Shut it
And
down.
ultimately, we are all at 100.
No, I'm at 1 million.
Nah.
Cut it.
Cheers.